The title in itself is designed in such a way to actually have a key concept that is in the book, the concept of repeating certain things in your head until they materialize. And we call that confirmations. The principle of confirmations is the one that I'm going to start explaining and how it's going to be able to develop and change your life completely. Most of your life, you engage people and they give you a reflection of what they're experiencing, and most of the time it's negative. So the encounters that you have in life, most of the time they've got a tone that has within itself, not out of spite, but out of the reality per se, there's a bit of negativity. So when you can be able to consciously create a system where you repeatedly repeat the things that you want to manifest in your life, those things will come to pass. This is a philosophy that was developed both in the scientific field and in the theological field, and even in the academic space. The example that was used in the academic field was, it's called the placebo effect. I'm sure some of you are familiar with what a placebo effect is. What they did is they took patients that were having a similar condition and they broke people into two groups. One was a test group and the other one was a control, right? And then they gave medication, the actual was supposed to be prescribed medication to the control. And then the test group, they gave them a sugar pill, which is nothing but the ordinary sugar that you put in the tea. But what they told the people actually is what was transformational. The people that got the sugar pill were told that this is the revolutionary medication that can completely change your condition. You can be healed instantly. This has worked for 120 people. It will work for you. The other people that were actually given the actual prescription, they were told that this is a test medication. We are not sure what's going to happen. If anyone can predict what happened, anyone's got a clue what happened? From experience, some of you probably know this experiment. Okay, yes?
I'm sure the ones that were told that this is revolutionary healed, and those that were told that it's test did not heal.
Why?
It's in the mind.
Exactly. It's perfect. It's all in the mind. So the book is designing a blueprint in which you can be able to guide and nurture your garden. There's a famous author and a motivational speaker by the name Les Brown, who says, your mind is like a garden. So if your mind is like a garden, if you leave your garden without attending to it, what happens? What happens? The weeds start, okay, you know what happens?
The weeds start growing, taking the nutrients.
Awesome, please clear this way, please. Yeah, so if you leave the garden to be, as it correctly pointed out, the weeds start to grow. But then if you want a garden that's going to be flourishing, a garden that's going to give you fruit, a garden that's going to give you flowers, what you have to do is to nurture that garden, is to take a lot of time concentrating and making sure that that garden grows. There's an African proverb that says there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. So you find that most of the challenges that you're facing, most of the obstacles that you're facing, most of the things that you're considering as a challenge, or the things that are hindering you, are actually all in your mind. And there are a lot of books that focus on this whole mind matrix thing, but most of them, they don't address a specific audience, which is an African audience, because the African challenge is completely different from a global challenge. I've had the privilege of speaking in different places. I've spoken in Asia, in Hong Kong. I've had the privilege of speaking in Cyprus, I've had the privilege of speaking in Turkey. What I've observed in those kind of audiences is the people, they do not understand the magnitude of challenge. Or when, for example, the field goes by like 2% or something. But the problem that we have here in Africa, there was so much gravity, and they're so crushing, and they're so destroying, but we do not have enough literature that actually helps us to be able to cope. In fact, we're the people that are not actually given a chance to actually study the causes of our problems and be able to create our solutions that can able to help us to handle and accelerate. If you're born between the ages of around 1975 to around late 90s, you probably, if you're an African more specifically, you face the most dramatic changes in history. So first and foremost, you were exposed to an education system that was not initially tailor-made for you, and then you taught that education system to your children who were faced by this technological transformation that was revolutionary. Remember, the personal computer that you're using today only became popular after 1980. The Cold War only ended in the 90s. So we're having this generation that was been faced by so much change, and they are not given enough equipment to be able to handle it. And in this research that I took extensively over years, I was trying to understand a typical African solution that we can have. Something that you and me can be able to coin together, because this is not a complete piece. It's something that as you read, you can definitely add on. As you read, you can be able to find out something that you can probably critique from it and even improve on it. This is not like the standard, but an explanation according to my view on how we can be able to solve things. And this is the starting point. One top key factor that I found that is consistent throughout, regardless of what field you are in, and that is the greatest growth factor. I will not spend a lot of time because our time is limited and respect the time. But this one factor I think is one that if you take home with you today and start implementing, it can have an instant change in your life. It changed mine personally, regardless of the kind of challenges that I was facing, regardless of the amount of resistance that you face based on this throat of mine. Regardless of all the challenges that you face based on the cultural context, the limitations that we have, it actually equipped me. It's something that I can put on my wall. It's a three-letter word that says why. Your why is the most crucial thing that can actually motivate you. In fact, you ask yourself right now, why did you choose to be here? That you take to handle the problem. What is it within you that made you take that decision while someone probably at this very moment is doing something destructive? So you have to take time and step back and investigate what is it that motivates each and every single one of your decisions. And the key thing that was also pointed out by a man called Eric Tozer, he says, if your why is greater than your excuses, and then you become successful. Because although we grew up in a context where there's so many things to blame, we have to reach a point where we take 100% responsibility for our lives. Because there's no point in blaming the government. I think you've been doing that for a lot of years, but there's no personal individual growth that comes from that. There's no point of blaming the economy, because other people are striving and excelling in that very same economy that you feel like is not working for you. There's no reason blaming your level of education, because we have a lot of examples of exceptionally literate people that are moving blocks in this world. There's actually a little, for most of the people in this room, there's a little things that you can actually point to that are legit. But if you really investigate that, the reason you discover that it's probably your why. Your why is not stronger than the next person that is doing it. I've got a friend, I think I'll probably conclude with this because our time. I've got a friend who passed on probably last year or so. He was born with a condition that didn't allow him to develop bones. So, that fact that on the projector makes it unfortunate, but the picture is in the book. He was born with a condition that did not allow his bones to develop, as I pointed out, and he had an opportunity to actually access a basic education from King George. He then had a chance of actually getting a scholarship from King George and came and studied at Petra School where he finished his A-level. Upon finishing his A-level, he went to the United States and he studied at the University of Lille. And he qualified as one of the top graduating students. After that, mind you, this is a person who is not even able to actually turn themselves around. They need help. This is a person that is on a wheelchair. After that, he went on to actually be part of an Oscar award-winning production. On top of that, he went on and he started speaking. The mother also a partner earlier because of breast cancer. He had single-handedly been able to raise $25,000 for the mother's funeral and for the mother's treatment. And I look at us here, and I just a few days ago, because I just came back to St. Francis School, just a few days ago I went to St. Francis and I was speaking to the head teacher, I was telling me the gravity of the challenges that people have there. They don't have the necessary biological help or the necessary psychological help or the necessary mental help to actually be able to help themselves. These people, they fight in those circumstances which most of us can really imagine. Can you not imagine being able to walk from there to that point by yourself? For the ability of actually being in a place where you can actually stand up and say, I don't want to do this, I want to eat now, I want to switch off with you. You don't have that privilege. You're confined in your own body. But regardless of all those challenges, they found a way to rise above and become exceptional. The positive steps towards it is when you start renewing your mind. doing what you're currently doing, attending such kind of events, reading books, listening to tapes, being in an atmosphere that encourages that attitude of continuous Kaizen growth, where you're continuously compounding your growth. It does not matter how difficult your circumstances may be right now, but you should have that stubborn attitude that says, regardless of what I'm looking like right now, I am young, rich, and successful. And the first step that you're going to do by purchasing this amazing book that's at an affordable price, and you're going to take it and share it with your family, with your friends. And with that, I thank you so much for the privilege of speaking to you today. Rebuttals? And let's make this exciting, please. Questions, anything?
Success, because we've probably failed.
Yes, sir, a lot.
What has the failure?
Oh, there are a lot. Where do I start? And my parents are in the room, so they'll probably start crying. You can start hearing a summary of all my failures. But I'll give you the most classic one. Okay, I'll take the question after this, right? It's a question, right? Okay, cool. I'll give you the most classic one. In my second year of university, I have this entrepreneurial hunger that just always trying to do something. So in my second year of university, I decided to get a group of students, and I convinced them that they give me a lot of money. And then we start this business where we opened an amazing shop, a double-story shop, a plasma TV, sofas, we rented a few cars, and we're putting on expensive-looking suits, pretending like we'd made it. We invited a lot of people over. We created this big show. And the minute we'd done all these gathering, because some of the people might think they were Nigerians, I mean, with all the stereotypes, yes, you can have those. So the people that I got, they're also Nigerians. So 2 weeks after we launched, we had a big launch, called people around, yeah. The people that did the biggest amount of investment that decided they want to pull out, we did not have the money. And you can imagine you put yourself out there completely. This is your first project that you're thinking maybe something may come out of it. And that was just downhill from there. The embarrassment, the humiliation, the cost, the emotional trauma, it was just a downhill period from there. However, I'm grateful for it because that is when I met my mentors. I met two men actually that helped me. One, his name is George Kumni, he's Cameroonian. The other man is Ali Obi, he's Nigerian. Both men are multi-millionaires. So they are able to bring me in, and then they gave me instructions, they gave me wisdom, they gave me guidance, they told me where I failed, they told me where I excelled. It also gave me a hunger within me to actually read more, because once you start a business project or any other project, I'm sure you're familiar with it, you realize how inadequate you are, right? Once you start something, you realize that like there's a lot that you don't know. So you're forced to keep on reading, you're forced to keep on studying. So that actually my appetite for reading also came in that, and it ended up producing